Alright, so we're back. It's been probably about a month since the last PowerBook Project video, which was, of course, the first, video in this new series, or like new little mini segment, I guess you could say, on the channel. And I finally found time to actually narrate the footage for the second part and maybe even the third part. Now, I know that I said in my last video, which was the Canon Vixia HF R500 unboxing, that there's not going to be any more 720p videos, and as soon as I record that, I realized that this footage is still in 720p because I took it with my old camera. So unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with some, I guess, the last tail end of 720p only footage. But I assure you that after this, there's not going to be any more videos shot on that old camera. It's all going to be shot on my new camera. So at least that's what I'm hoping for. But anyway, so let's just get on with the video. If you remember where we left off last time, when the iFixit tool bag got stuck in the card slot of the laptop, I was taking off the back plate of where the Apple logo is of this computer, and that's kind of where that I left off. Which really, the whole process was kind of difficult for me at first because I actually had to use two separate tools. It said to use this tool right here, which is like the black, I guess, scalpel thing, but I actually had to use this other tool, which also comes with the iFixit Protect toolkit, to kind of like pry two areas at the same time. Now, I will say it was a lot easier for me on the second laptop, but this one, it was just kind of difficult. But I think I actually had to pry it a bit more, because it wasn't fully off yet, because you're like supposed to pry it so that the back plate is like completely separated and you can actually see like a inch of like separation in like on the, or like around the entire display bezel. So I spent a little bit longer doing that, and once I got the whole thing off, like once I got like the whole bezel detached, I guess you could say, from the back, I then went into actually removing the back portion of the actual computer, and that is where like the whole plate where the Apple logo is, obviously. And this was kind of easy to get off, but I had to kind of do like a mixture of trying to like get it off and then pry it actually while it was closed, which the iFixit guide said. They didn't really say not to do, but they didn't mention anything about that. But that's really the only way that I could find to get this off. And I'm not sure if that was just me or if it was just the way that I was doing it, if I wasn't doing it correctly. But as I said, it was a lot easier on the second laptop. But yeah, once I got it completely pried off, I was finally able to actually remove the back bezel, or not the bezel, but like I guess top piece. And it came off, pretty easily after that I had pried off the whole thing. So once I got the whole back panel off of the computer, it was still actually attached to the rest of the machine by these two little white and black cables here. And what the iFixit guide actually told me to do was to remove those, and I actually realized afterwards that it was kind of unnecessary for the type of repair that I was doing. I'm not sure if I was looking at a teardown guide. I think that I actually was, so I kind of just followed that anyway. But what it said to do was to take off that little white and black wire, which really all that does is it just takes off the plastic sheet on the back, I guess is what you would call that, like the back panel. But once I got that off, again, it was kind of an extra unnecessary step. But then I had to go on into something that was a little bit easier, but it was still kind of difficult at first. Obviously, most things on this computer were difficult the first time that I did it. But what I had to do was there's this little board here, which I believe is the display inverter, which will basically change, like the rest of the power from the machine into a current that the LCD can use to, obviously be powered and everything. And I had to use the same plastic spudger to get off these two little, white, I guess, tab connectors that went into it, and there were two of them, one on each side. And I essentially had to, get this board out of here, and it was pretty simple after that I realized what I was doing, obviously. But Once I got it out, I had to go up to the top of the LCD and remove the cable that basically sends the display data from the computer to the display. And this was pretty simple. All I had to do was to peel off this little orange tape here and just pull the connector right out. It just came right out. And then after I did that, I had to go down to the bottom here and kind of use the little plastic spudger again to pry up this tape that was a little bit tougher to get off. So I couldn't really use my bare hands at first, but that's why I had to use that. And that basically, I believe, separated the connector, I guess like the data connector from the display. So everything is separated now except for the actual frame. I actually now had to grab a smaller Phillips screwdriver, a PH00, according to the iFixit guide, and I had to go in and remove all of the screws around the actual display frame. And this didn't really take that long. It was kind of easy, and I say that a lot now because honestly the rest of this portion was kind of simple. So now that I have the LCD completely removed from the other computer, it's now time to move on to the good computer that has everything perfectly fine with it except for the LCD, which is what we're going to be swapping it out. And essentially do the exact same thing. So I'm not really going to narrate this whole part because you guys probably know exactly what's going on. I'm just going to probably put some nice background music in and just do like a little time lapse. So enjoy it. And after everything is put back together, the laptop looks pretty good. Obviously it didn't, nothing aesthetically really changed about it. I was just, in this clip, I was just, kind of just making sure that the hinge was, still okay, which it was. And then I just decided to, turn it on and see if it worked. And well, sure enough, it did. And it had the little red glow when it first came on. So that leads me to believe, obviously, that it was the previous LCD panel failing, which is a good sign that I was actually able to fix this, which is very good. But now what I wanted to do was, put in the extra RAM that came in the other computer. There was actually one extra stick of, I think, 256, of 512 megs of RAM. So this process is very simple. There's just this little RAM door on the bottom with 4 screws around it. I just had to use a normal Phillips screwdriver to unscrew those, take off the RAM door, and you can see we have the 1 gig of RAM in here. And all I had to do was take the extra 512 stick, which the camera kind of neglected the focus on here, but I just had to, well, at first I didn't think there were actually 2 RAM slots because it didn't really look like that, but then when I took off the other stick of RAM, it was just in the first slot, I believe. So I'm sure you guys know how to put RAM into any computer. But it was pretty simple. All I had to do was, you know, just put the stick in and press down on it, and it was, you know, locked and you know, secure in place. And after I did that, it was time to, you know, obviously screw the you know, little back door back on. And we now have an extra 512 megs of RAM in this machine. So I just put the battery back in, flipped it over, turned it on, and, well, what do you know, Mac OS X now shows that it has 1.5 gigs of RAM, which is very nice. So I would definitely call this a successful repair. Now, obviously, all of the other parts from that other laptop, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with those. I might keep them like as, you know, like spare parts or something. But see, the thing is that like other, I guess, quote unquote bad display, it still kind of works, but it just does that weird thing where it just glows red for, you know, a little bit as it's booting up. So really, if I, you know, wanted to use that as like a test display, I could. And I just, you know, kept like the whole other computer. It's in my attic somewhere, but really that's about it for this little mini series. And I'm glad that you guys have, you know, like enjoyed it as much as you have. I think this has gotten like a lot of views actually, which is, you know, pretty surprising. But I definitely plan on doing more, you know, computer repair type videos in the future. So if you guys do like this, definitely sure to drop me a comment, and of course leave a like rating like you guys always do, and that definitely shows me that you guys enjoyed the video. But really that's just about it for this video. Again, I do have some great videos coming your guys' way in the near future, so definitely be sure to be looking out for that. And I think that is pretty much gonna wrap it up. So I'd just like to thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.